tennis friends and family, it's that time. You keep playing tennis long enough, you're going to have to get your racket restrung. Today, we're going to take a few minutes and give you a quick, brief tutorial on the highlights of stringing a racket. Let's go. Alright friends, if you're going to start stringing your own rackets, one thing I recommend you own, a pair of wire clippers. They're so much better than your home scissors because you will destroy your home scissors. Cheap, easy way to do it. Next thing you want to do is when you cut your strings out, you want to start from the center and start to clip them out from an inside pattern, up and down, and left and right, working your way all the way to the outside. Alright folks, I've clipped them all out. Now what we're going to do is take time to slide the strings out. Nothing fancy here. It's almost satisfying to take them out. Alright gang, in this particular Wilson racket, a few things you need to know. The string pattern on this one is a 16 by 20, and you can see that in the throat of the racket. So what that's telling us is we've got 16 mains, which are the strings that go up and down, and 20 cross strings that go this way. The other thing you need to pay attention to on your racket, most rackets will have a little dot here that'll tell you where the middle of the strings are to help you with that string pattern. I normally use a polyester string, so I'm going to be using this particular 16 gauge string. We can talk more about strings at another time. So this first part, I like to put the strings through by hand in the mains before I put it on the machine. So that's what I'm going to do next. Alright, so when it comes time to string it, I always start at the left side of the center and pull it up there, and it 100% lines up on the left side of the white dot that we talked about a minute ago. So that's where we'll start with our string by hand, and we'll start to pull it through by hand. Alright, so every racket that's produced is a string pattern. In this particular one, I told you that there's 16 mains. In this one, we're going up and down. You've got to skip holes 7 and 9. So if you count here from the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's number 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up number 8 here. And what that does is that allows when we come back around for the crosses to fit. So on the bottom, as I just skipped, and on the top, you see I skipped number 7. You count this way from the middle. And then on my way back down, I'm going to skip number 9 on this one. And as you get to the right side, you also have to skip 7 and 9 in your mains. Make sure to do that. Alright, pro tip. Using your wire cutters, cut your string at a nice angle like that. It'll make for a nice point, and I'll go through the strings nice and easy. Alright folks, I pulled it through on my mains. It's time to throw it on the machine. So put the throat through this portion here. We put our racket lined up center with that little dot. Find our clamps on here. And put it down nice and tight so it's not going anywhere. Alright, on this particular racket, in the throat again, you can string this racket between 53 and 63 pounds. My personal preference on this racket is 59 pounds. So I line it up here at 59 pounds on my racket stringer, and it's almost time to go. So what we want to do is we clamp off our center string here. And what we're going to do is pull against it here. I drop the string into the slot, and we pull it back. When it pops out, that's 59 pounds. So I use my floating clamps, beautiful music, to clamp it in place, and it'll hold that tension. Now let it go. And then it's time to work down to the other side of the racket. Alright, so when you're pulling this string, another pro tip, always pull the string under the throat, because when you're pulling it tight, You don't want to pull it over this way and have undue pressure on your racket. That could cause it to crack. That'd be a no-no. So let's go underneath when we pull it through. And then we get ready to pull our next string to 59 pounds. All right, gang, so you can see I've skipped 7 and 9, come all the way to this part of ending it all. Now what we gotta do, I've clamped it off to hold our tension. This one holds our initial tension all the way through here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna tie off our string. So we look for our spot to pull it through. Again, pro tip, it comes like this. If you clip it at a nice edge, makes a nice sharp piece, it's make it easier to pull it through. And then let's find a good spot to slide it through. We'll tie it off. And what I like to do to make my knots nice and tight, I cinch them off with my machine. And we use our clippers. And I clip it off like that for now. All right, folks, we got all of our mains done. It's time to start working on our crosses. So here again, that pro tip of making a nice sharp edge there feeds through really easily. And what we want to do is go over, under, back and forwards. And with this one, on our first pull, I like to go back and forth. I missed one tightening on it, so we're going to go through here. I'm going to pull it through. Go. And back the other. Important pro tip. So you see where the string is coming over. So on this round, we got to make sure on this opposite side, the string is going under. And I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. So here, see the string went over. In this next round, it goes under. So it's got to alternate back and forwards to make the basket weave that holds our strings nice and tight. Back and forwards. Pull it back through. Here's number 9 that we left open. And what I recommend you do is periodically check to make sure over, under, over, under, over, under, to make sure you've done it correctly. So I've done it well here. We line it up, and here we pull our strings tight. All right, gang, another pro tip. Some of these little pliers like this for when it gets stuck are great because it's really hard with just my pair of hands to do it. So it gets me started. It's easy to pull our string through. All right, we've come to the end. What we did was we pulled it through here, came back up like we did last time, and we're gonna tie our last knot to hold it in place. Like that. Again, I like to use my string and pull our little, cinch our knot tight. Take out our clamps. We'll clip our excess string here. Take it off the rack. And there we go. We're ready for our next match. See you on the courts.